I want to welcome everybody to today's Code Ninja CEO conference call. We've had a lot of great things happen over the past couple weeks here at Code Ninjas, and we're anxious and excited to share those things with you, from bringing on brand new franchisees to multi-franchisees who are now partnering with Code Ninjas. We have kind of give you a breakdown for today. We're going to have welcome David Graham here in just a moment. But today's call is going to give you a little bit of history about Code Ninjas, why we're doing what we're doing, how we got to this place, and really the opportunity, this window of opportunity we have to be the name in terms of teaching kids how to code through playing video games, and really bringing this really throughout the country. Code Ninjas is positioned very, very well with a team that has great experience in franchising, a team that's got great experience in scaling up a business, and really, most importantly, a seasoned team with understanding and teaching coding and doing the research and putting everything together. So my name is Marty Flannigan. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development with Code Ninjas. Today, you're also going to have an opportunity to do a little question and answer. And how that works is just *6 on your phone. That's going to virtually raise your hand, and you will be able to ask questions. Dave will give you the signal on when that's going to happen today. Also, at the end, if you have some more questions, we're going to be available one-on-one for you. And as we go through the call today, please keep in mind that we're open to all your questions that you have at any moment, but let's wait for them at the end so we can answer them all at one time. So without further ado, David Graham.
Thanks, Marty. So just to give you a little bit of history about what we do here and why we do it. My team here, Marty and his team, come over from the franchising world, and I worked with them for a number of years. I've known Marty probably 10 years. We were good buddies back then, and we're still good buddies now. And whenever we started the idea of Code Ninjas, we decided, let's bring in the best franchising team humanly possible. So Marty was on the top of my list. If any of you out there know Marty, you know that he's a huge asset to our team. We also talked to Jeff Thames and brought him on board more recently, but as soon as we could get him, he joined our team as well. And he's got years and years of experience in franchising. And so one of the important things to understand is that we started this company as a franchisee support company from the very beginning. I think that's one of the things that makes us stand out as kind of a shining star amidst the field, is that, we didn't, have a great corporate idea, start it, and then say, hey, everybody wants to do this, so let's just let everybody do it. That's what some people do. They just start a business and then, pay for the FDD to get built. We started a completely different direction. We knew we were franchising from the beginning. We knew we wanted to do this right. And that meant that we had to be a support infrastructure for our franchisees from day one. And so, while you're going through this process, you think to yourself, if the sales process gets rocky or the startup process gets rocky, what do you think is going to happen after that process is over? Well, we've made sure that all the way through our process, whether that's during this time for you or after you become an official franchisee, that we have the support infrastructure here. That's going to be CNU, that's Code Ninjas University, or a lot of other tools, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But first, let me talk about the history of why we came here. For the 4 years before we started Code Ninjas, I was teaching adults how to code in a 9-week boot camp. People would fly all around the world, really. We had people come from London and Tokyo and all kinds of cool places to visit us here in little Pure Land, Texas, and we would teach them in 9 weeks how to go from nothing to a professional software developer. We were super successful at that. We had about a 94% success rate. If you graduated our program, we were able to get you and place you into a job in programming. And so that was a very rewarding path for us. We did that for, like I said, about 4 years. When we decided that it was time to sell that company and look to our next company to run, it wasn't a really hard choice for us. Yet we obviously took our time and made sure that this is something that we wanted to do. But as we were going through coder camps and there wasn't a week that went by that I didn't hear, hey, can my kid do this? Hey, do you have a weekend session? All he does is sit on his tablet, and I'd rather him do something productive with his time. And so this was kind of a building of, a backlog, so to speak, of need in my mind. And so I was one day, about 3 years ago, I guess it was now, sitting in my kid's taekwondo dojo and watching him do all these kicks and stuff. And he had progressed a pretty good ways through, probably halfway through all the belts. And I thought to myself, the kicks he's doing right now kind of look exactly like the kicks he did when he started. And I'm not super sure if he's actually doing anything new. They would teach him a little bit of some kind of new form or something like that just to memorize. But I wasn't really sure about the process and how he was getting better. To me, it still didn't look like he could fight his way out of a paper sack. So I just needed to have some validation from the parenting side, because we spent 2 years at this place. I wanted to make sure that we were my son was getting what he wanted out of it. He thought it was fun, so that was part of it. But the other part is I wanted him to, have some self-defense skills as well and just be physically fit. And so what I learned from that adventure is not only did I need some feedback on the parental side, but I also needed to have a bit of I had to be taken care of in a little more comfortable environment than they were providing. They stuck us on a hard wooden bench, or maybe sometimes on the floor, wherever we could find a seat. The Wi-Fi never worked, so we're sitting there for, an hour and a half sometimes with basically nothing to do. These are definitely modern inconveniences, but at the same time, parents are busy. They dedicate a lot of their time to their kids. It should be that we can take a few easy steps and measures to take care of them while they're doing their things for their kids. And so when we started Code Ninjas, one of the first things we looked at was how can we take care of the parents, give them a comfy couch with free coffee, free Wi-Fi, and free water with a big screen TV that they can watch the news or whatever they want to on while their kid is going through the program. Additionally, we wanted to make sure that they understood, because coding isn't for everybody. You don't know how your kid is progressing, just like I didn't know how the kicks were working unless we give you a pass. We show them that they have the pass. So I kind of mimicked the white through black belt scenario from the Taekwondo realm, and it goes along with the Code Ninja theme very well. So, but then we also have a means by which we see how the parent wants to get feedback. Do they want to get a sheet of paper that shows their kid's progress? Do they want to get an email that shows their kid's progress, or maybe access to the games that their kid is building? Do they just want to have verbal communication every day after the kid finishes their hour on the drop-in program? Parents want to consume that information in different ways. So we just talk to them at their level while we're doing what the kids want to do. And so that was a huge deal for me. And I think that goes to my need-want balance. Parents know their kids need it, but the kids want it. So if the parents know that they need it, and we take really good care of the parents, and we're showing that the kids are getting what they need, and the kids want it. The kids are sold as soon as they walk in the building. They're like, oh, I can build video games? Easy. Like they just go and start. Then we really hit a nice perfect storm where everybody's getting what they want out of it. And what that equates to in a business model is you can charge a premium for it. We don't want to be a race to the bottom on pricing. We want to be able to have a premium price, because we're servicing a world-class premium product. So our entire motto and mantra is built upon those premises. Kids have fun, parents see results. That's written on the wall in the lobby of every center that's going to open, and it's because it's at our foundation. We want to make sure that's where we start. Kids have to have fun. What we're seeing is, as opposed to some of our competition out there, is kids are asking to come more often. They want to, how can I get a 3-day-a-week pass instead of just a 2-day-a-week pass? Is there a way I can come every day? Can I stay 2 hours a day instead of just 1 hour a day? So whenever you hear that kind of feedback, you're doing something right. The kids are absolutely loving it. I had a friend of mine who sent his son over last week. He's in franchising as well, and he called and he said, on the flip side of his son doing one of our camps, and he said, you have got a winner here, because my son, I can barely get him up in the morning, but every single day he's waking us up to get to Code Ninjas every day during that 1 week summer camp. And I said, well, now you know why we're doing it. And he said, I want to get on board. So we're getting more and more interest with our franchisees through serving that superior world-class product in our centers. You know, that's why we do this. That's how we got here. You know, moving forward, we see that's where you come in. We need to have business people, like-minded entrepreneurs, teachers, educators, people who are interested in working with kids and see the power of teaching kids how to code. You know, the reason we do this for our community is that the kids today do not get this education in the classrooms, but we know that the jobs of tomorrow and the careers of tomorrow are going to require it. One of the recent statistics said that about 30 to 40% of the jobs that exist today are going to be automated by 2030. You know, that's just a short, 12 and a half years away. By the time my kid, who is, 10 years old, gets to be 22 years old, that means there will be 30% less jobs due to automation. That's a pretty scary feat. So what we're trying to do is get them in that next level, and that's where you come in. We wanted to make sure that we're the market-dominating brand. We're the world-class brand. When somebody thinks about kids and coding education, they think about Code Ninjas, and there's no other brand out there that can do it like they do it. So that's where you guys come in. We want to be able to expand quickly and robustly and offer a superior product all the way across the country for right now, but across the world a little bit later. And in order to do that, you really can't do that without a foundation and support that I was talking about earlier. The support infrastructure that we've built here is world-class. I can tell you, I've talked to 100 franchisors, and they said none of us started from here. Okay, we built this stuff over years and years, and you're offering it to your franchisees from day one. That's pretty amazing. And, we did it that way intentionally because we want to make sure you have all the tools and resources to fill in the blanks that you might have personally. You might be a teacher that has all the teaching skills in the world, maybe even a technology teacher that you have the ability to teach coding, but you may not have the best business acumen, or you may not understand how to hire people, or maybe there's some other little bits and pieces that you're missing in there. That's where Code Ninjas University really shines. We really went through in every single bit of your business, whether that's, like I said, hiring or selling your business one day. I mean, we have everything in there that gives you information on how to do that and what the proper way to go about those problems are. And, if there's something missing, if there's, say, out of our 7 sections and something like 42 subsections in that Code Ninja University, that you still need help on, you have a designated support representative to manage and coach you through that. So your manager can call them, your coaches can call them, you as an owner can call them. So your entire team has an outlet that you can reach out to, kind of red phone style like the president would use, in order to get the information you need immediately. We also use state-of-the-art communications tools like Teams and SharePoint and all cloud-based technology, so that you always have the latest and greatest at your fingertips. And yes, we can help you with that too. One of our newest franchisees was having trouble, getting her email set up the other day. That's why we're here. We understand that you're not technologists. We're giving you the tools, but maybe you need some help walking through some of that. No matter what the challenge is, we want to be a partner with you to get you through that process, and that's what franchisee support system means. It's not just some buzzword. It means no matter what you're having a problem with, we want to be there to help you. So that, and a little bit of that is, I really, when I was in franchise on your side of the fence as a franchisee, I was kind of a little bit disappointed that nobody ever came to visit my office. Nobody came to see what we were doing. Nobody gave us a pat on the back or hey, this might be a little bit better if you did it this way. I wanted that feedback, but it never happened. So we're taking that into account as well. We want to make sure that we get boots on the ground at least once early on so that we can help you fine-tune that organization to get you go into profitability as soon as possible. If you need us to come out again, I'm sure we could schedule that as well, but we're going to at least be there and try to be there for all the grand openings. And one of my promises to our early adopters is going to be that if you get in this year, I'm going to try to make every single grand opening. I got my wife to give me permission, so I think I can do that. There may be a couple of conflicts here and there because we're growing so fast. There may be a weekend where I can't be in San Francisco and New York at the same time. But if it's at all physically possible, I am definitely going to try to be at all the grand openings this year. So speaking of great support, I want to bring in our first franchisee. I don't know if it's V or Angeline on the phone, but they can speak to how they've been supported after the fact and just give you a little more information from their perspective. Guys, are you there?
Hey, David, it's Anjali.
Hi.
Hey, so thanks so much. Welcome, everyone. This is the third time I think that I've been on one of these calls, so I'm sorry to everyone who has to keep hearing me over and over again on the same thing. But just to give you all a really high-level idea of what we did to get to where we're at. We are, as David mentioned, the first franchisees that signed, and with being the first franchisee, you can only imagine the feelings that you're having right now of joining a brand new franchise. We kind of had that times 10 because no one else had joined as of yet. But there were three things that we really looked at as we came into the conversation with both David and Marty. The first was the business model. What was the business model of Code Ninjas compared to those other programs that are out there currently? And we did a full-fledged business plan for ourselves, plopped in everything with looking at, where the future's going, where the future's at, where we're at right now, and then locally what's happening in our city and our state from an educational perspective for coding. The second thing that we looked at was really the financial model. Obviously, we're a for-profit business. We want to be in this to make money, but at the same time, we're very community-focused. My husband and I are. So we looked at the financial models that would allow for us to be financially secure, that the franchise itself would be very much the kind of franchise that would make us the money, but one that we can then look at giving back into our community. And then the third piece of it really was looking at it because this is not, quote, unquote, our own business 100%. We are a franchise. What is our relationship with the franchisor in and of itself? And that was a really big piece as well. And I can tell you, since we started talking with Marty in January of this year, up to the point that we signed in late April, and then from April until today, with everything that we have done, with every question that we have had, both Marty and David have made themselves readily available to both me as well as my husband. And they can probably attest to the fact that my husband has probably 3 times more questions than I do, a lot of things. But they've been there all along the way. And, the time I can literally yesterday afternoon, we had a great day, and I wanted to share it with Marty, and I picked up the phone and called him, and he was on his way somewhere else, and he's like, it didn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what time of day it is. If we're picking up our kids from camps over the summer, dropping them off, they're there, they're readily available, and there to answer all of our questions. So it's been really nice. The other thing is because we're all so fresh, the community that's being built right now, we've had a really good we've had the benefit, let me just put it this way, we've had the benefit of talking to a lot of folks out there that are on their way to signing, that are bought into the brand, bought into the business model, the financial model, and now it's that last piece of, if you will, the relationship. And it's at a certain point, it's not just with the franchisor, it's also with the other community of franchises. And everyone that I've spoken with thus far that were looking to sign and have signed since then, or were looking to sign and took a little while longer, or are coming to Discovery Days, whatever it is, the level of individuals that we have spoken with thus far have been absolutely incredible. So I think from all levels, from before signing till after signing, all relationships, it's been really awesome for us.
Well, thank you so much, Angela. I hope it continues that way. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that you're continue to be well taken care of. I know you guys have started buddying up. We got 5 or 6 different franchisees now, and 16 territories. It's kind of a race to get open. That first one open, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but it's kind of nice because we kind of have our own support group going on right now. So it's kind of nice, to get a text or an email from someone saying, "Hey, how did you deal with this?" Or what trouble did you run into, or what bumps have you run along with, or what was the process that you used to get from here to there? And so it's kind of nice because we're all kind of one another's support groups as well, because I think there's a realization that there's only so far that you as a franchisor, David and Marty and Jeff, can go with the information that you can give prior to. But so we try to help fill in the blanks as far as we possibly can with our experience. So I think it's just been a really nice balance of being able to do that, and then also to be able to hear and talk about different people's backgrounds and the ideas they have as well, in looking at different revenue streams. And that conversation is just it keeps us excited. So it's been good. Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, more people we can bring onto the team and get involved and share ideas, the better. That's why I hope we've done a good job of giving you the tools to communicate and reach out to each other in numerous platforms and numerous ways. So thanks, Anjali. Appreciate that.
Sure thing.
So as she said, we have a lot of excitement around what we're doing, and it becomes infectious. Like last week, we had 34 people here for Discovery Day, and I just talked to Marty and Jeff this morning, or Marty last night and Jeff this morning, and it looks like to me that we're going to have an even bigger Discovery Day next time possibly. So the interest is not waning. It wasn't an anomaly. It wasn't a fluke. This is something that's real. We're actually growing in numbers and size and the momentum of our organization. You can just feel it. It's palpable. Everybody here understands that we have to be ready, and we've done all the back work, the tough stuff up to this point to make sure that we're ready for when this when all these new franchisees come on board. So some exciting cities coming up. Oklahoma, there's some in Kansas, there's some in Florida, there's some in New Jersey. We're talking to California, to Nevada, just every state you can just about imagine. We have some real potential to open up in a big way. Even here in Houston, we just recently got Sugar Land, and I think Friendswood's going to be soon. And Bel Air has got a lot of franchisees interested in it right now. So just the momentum is increasing. So I think it's a good time for us to go ahead and take a few calls, questions. Like Marty said, if you have a question, you hit *6 on your phone. That'll raise your hand and you can ask away. I want everybody to, when you ask a question and you get unmuted, just go ahead and tell us your name and where the territory you're looking at, the city and state where you're looking. There we go. Hi, how are you?
Sure, Deepak Patel. Hi, Deepak Patel from Pearland. I visited the center. I have a few questions. My first one, considering the avenue in terms of Tinker versus your location, a physical location, how do you differentiate yourself?
How do we differentiate from Tinker?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So for those of you on the call that don't know, Tinker is an online tool where kids can go through, and I think they do cater to some classrooms as well. So we've actually used Tinker before in the classroom at our Code Ninjas here in Pearland, and so we can speak to this very specifically. Tinker's a great product. There's no doubt about it. We actually love what they're doing there, but it's just not very robust. Additionally, Tinker is designed for a 1-week kind of session. The most you're going to get out of it is maybe, if you string along a whole bunch of them, you might get to 6 weeks. So the problem with Tinker is it's the amount of volume that they understand isn't enough for them to go out and build their own stuff later. Our program is designed to be from white belt to black belt, a 4-year program. This is a comprehensive understanding of programming. This isn't just a cursory scratch the surface kind of thing. So we want them to dig deep. If they make it through the program and they get, ours is a proprietary blend of the best things that we cherry picked from the internet. We use platforms here and there, and then we wrapped it around that. We wrapped Code Ninja's branding on everything. So we made it as proprietary as we could, brought it all together, and now the students get the benefit of having a robust understanding of coding from top to bottom. When they get to the black belt and they understand, they get that certificate for black belt achievement, they're going to understand that they have something special, like a select few people. I equate it to something like an Eagle Scout or something. This is going to be something they want to put on their resume so that they understand, so that future employers understand the commitment level that they put in. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Actually, just FYI, my daughter came to visit the center in Pearland. She did the little one-day trial testing. She loved the program. For us, it was a matter of distance. We're in the other side of Pearland, so it would take us about an hour to round trip. But it definitely got me interested in so.
Well, you should open up on East Pearland. East Pearland and Friendswood, I think, are just dying for it right now because we have a lot of people from your side of the town, actually.
Yeah, I definitely realize that. We're looking at several locations, so we got Woodland, Pearland. So.
Yeah, sure. That's awesome. Well, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. Let us know if we can help you with anything.
Hi, my name is Bob. Just had a quick question on hiring of the teachers. I do work full-time, so I may not be able to be on site for the courses. And I am a software developer, but like I said, I will probably not have time to be at the location as often as I would like. So how does the hiring process work? Do we hire somebody with a computer background, or does the course that you guys made just work by itself?
Sure. Appreciate the question. I think the answer to your question is needs a little bit of history there. When we first started, we went out and we hired kind of some professionals, what we thought were professionals. As I said, I taught adults how to program in those boot camp style environments. So we hired a couple of the people who left there, and they were great. They were awesome. But, the problem with those guys is they can go off and get a $70,000 to $80,000 a year job. And that didn't work for us, because we can't pay them that much. So what we found was to hit a sweet spot on, a 17 to 21-year-old that's still in college or maybe even still in high school. We went to the local robotics team in the high school and just told the guys that I would hang out with, I don't think it's any shame to say the nerds of the group these days, we told them, look, we're going to pay you $10 an hour. That's, $2 more than you can make anywhere else in town, working on code, working with kids, and you're going to love it. It's a great time. It's part-time. We'll work around your school schedule, and they're great kids. They really know what they're doing. They've done Scratch, and they've done all these programs before a little bit because they're those guys, right? I mean, they've done it on their own time. So they just go through our material. They go through our training, and they move forward through the program, and they come on board. And, once you get in a couple of those guys, you only need one or two to start. But once you get a couple of those guys on board, they're going to tell all their friends, and they're a pretty tight-knit little group. So you can typically find quite a few of those guys. And then we also have some outreach that we did through the local colleges. So maybe a computer science teacher, a computer science bachelor's degree student wants to have a little extra money to go through college, that kind of stuff. We've found some success in there too. But that's a great question.
Hi, this is Michael, North Carolina. And my question is, if the program is developed for 4 years, isn't it too shallow to develop only mods for Minecraft, or it has more advanced topics?
Yeah, so the mods for Minecraft are only a 1-week little summer camp. That's actually in our drop-in program, which is the 4-year program. We don't modify Minecraft at all. So the program is built so that they can bring their own ideas into fruition, not just modify or not just follow somebody else's game plan. We want them to use their creativity, their knowledge, and their abilities to build new games and put their new games out there in the world. We get very complex. Towards the end, it gets pretty complicated and pretty complex, but it's all done in a way that they can self-paced learn it as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I couldn't find it in the program description. Are there any specific programming languages that are taught formally, or it's only Scratch, Minecraft, and Roblox?
You know, Scratch, Minecraft, and Roblox are just 3 of many pieces that we picked up and brought into the program. Like Scratch and Roblox are only done through the summer camp programs. So the ongoing program is Scratch, and then that's only for the white belt. That's just to do an introduction so that the students get really familiar with something that they already kind of know. To teach the general concepts and constructs of programming, it's better that they don't have to worry where a swirly bracket or a semicolon is on the keyboard. So we use all that drag and drop. But after that, after they get the concepts down and they understand what an if-then statement is, what a while statement is, how to store variables, how to build the game conceptually, then we go straight into real JavaScript. And so JavaScript is the most prolific language on earth. It's used in every web browser that you've probably ever used. It's now used for server-side languages and intermediate languages in video games. Additionally, one of the platforms that we're using to build video games from the blue belt through black belt is called Unity, and Unity uses JavaScript as one of its options for languages. So we can write some really powerful games using JavaScript through the Unity platform.
Yep, it makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, some great questions here. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand by hitting *6, and then I can let you ask it. Thanks a lot.
Hi, it's
Hello.
Juliana. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Juliana. Yes.
Hi, it's Juliana, Sugarland, Texas. Thank you for hosting this. I just wanted to learn a little bit more about the age range that you selected and what the thinking was behind that, and expectations for kids once they finish these courses. I believe it's 7 to 14, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So on the low end, that's a great question. If you have a couple of questions, it's fine. Can I answer one at a time? I have a 1-question buffer. I usually forget one. So on the low end, the 7-year-old scale, I thought, we all came together and thought about how well someone can read is really the lowest, the common denominator. We've had a couple of 6-year-olds that were really prolific readers, and they did go through they're in the program still, and they love it. So really, it's just a matter of whether they can read really well, because you got to realize everything in the drop-in program is self-paced. So we don't want to have a teacher designated to that kid just because he can't read the material and go through it at his own pace. On the upper end, I like to say that anybody less than 7 and anybody over 14 thinks they know everything. And so I think it's a little bit of a harder dynamic to teach somebody that's over 14, and it probably isn't conducive for the same kind of environment as having people that are under 14. Once they get into high school, it's really a whole different ballgame. But don't worry, we have a plan for them. It's coming out by the end of the year, and we're going to have a separate deal for them to take advantage of learning as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. I did have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You had mentioned, the vision of having a market-dominating brand. Can you give us some examples in terms of how you're building that brand awareness from the corporate level?
Well, we have a lot of ways that we're building brand awareness as far as to be market dominant. That's going to be mainly through growth through franchisees. I mean, once we have more market awareness and we have more locations open, that's the biggest way, right? We're also doing things where we're positioning resources here as thought leaders in the community. We do a lot of Girls Who Code initiatives and things like that to really put our name out there in front of people. We have teachers initiatives where we're supporting teachers in their education in coding. Quite a few things where we're trying to get our name at the forefront, more than just traditional marketing means. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Great. Well, those were some great questions. If you have any more, go ahead and hit *6. I don't have any questions in the queue right now, so I can jump on really quickly. But I'll give it a couple of minutes here. And, as a business owner, as a startup guy, it's always a really great thing to see when people are jumping on board with your idea. I've had a lot of ideas. I'm the kind of guy that has a great idea every day before breakfast. I'm just that guy. I got a lot of ideas. So whenever you start reaching out to people to come work for you, or reaching out now in this case to franchisees, and people are just kind of beating the door down to get on board with what we're doing, it really makes you feel good. It kind of validates that your idea, that your vision is going in the right direction. I just want to appreciate everybody on the call. Tell you thank you for joining us, and just thank you for seeing part of my vision here, because it's important to me. It's neat to see it grow like it has been. Go ahead and take the next call.
Hello, this is Amal from San Diego, California. Hey, David, I have a question. So I know Scratch is part of the programming curriculum. I know Apple has their Swift Playground curriculum as well. Is there any plan to introduce that into the Code Ninjas curriculum?
We really want to stick with JavaScript for right now. Once we get the fundamentals of programming into the child's head, they can go out and learn pretty much anything in the programming world. This is kind of like teach them how to fish kind of a deal. But we think that we need to focus to have a robust understanding on one and not bifurcate too far. Now, that might change. Every day we make this curriculum better. And you might tell me, you know what? The San Diego market, it hates JavaScript. If you just came to me and said, this is the worst idea ever, Dave, we would look at, and you said, let's do this Apple initiative. I think it would go really well over here. And we've got 4 or 5 franchisees here now. It makes sense for us to look at splitting this off and adding this in. That's the power of franchising, right? That's all these great ideas and these people coming from different angles. That's where we get more bigger and better ideas. So we want to hear those plans and ideas on how we can make the program better and better. And trust me, I have a whole curriculum development team that works nonstop on making it better every single day. So right now we don't have any plans to do that, but let's keep it in mind for future endeavors. Maybe that could be a workshop or a summer camp, or there's 1,000 opportunities out there for that.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, David.
Sure.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, this is Steve from Brooklyn, New York. Just wondering, I have 2 questions actually. So the first is more about like the coaches and whatnot. So what kind of ratio are we looking at for the preferred coach to student ratio per class?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I appreciate it. In our classes that we have currently open, we try to keep about an 8-to-1 ratio, but we, at the minimum, we would want to see a 10-to-1 ratio. So 10 students to 1 coach.
That sounds good. And the other question I had is, what kind of graphic design component is there to the curriculum as far as like models and textures for the programs they create?
Yeah, so for the most part, the curriculum is not a graphic design program. You know, I was a programmer for a long time. I can count on one hand how many times I jumped in, you know, Adobe Photoshop or something to make something. So we're going to give them a set of assets, models, and materials to build bigger and better games. And then, you know, I don't know, you sound pretty knowledgeable about these things, but in the Unity world, they have a very robust asset library that you can use, and most of the assets are free. And even if you have to buy them, it's like $1. So there's a lot of resources already readily available, and that's not the primary focus of what we're doing here. It could be a tertiary focus, just like we were talking about a second ago. I could definitely see that we have a modeling workshop or tons of other things that we can get into later, but we really want to just focus on the programming aspects of it for right now.
Yeah, I get that. I was thinking of like down the line as an idea, like 3D printing is getting big, you know, like modeling, so kids can make stuff for themselves and take home.
Now you're talking Vivek. V is up in North Carolina. You're speaking his love language, I bet. He was wanting a 3D print, and he and his son are going through MakerBots right now and looking at MakerBot just released actually a curriculum for organizations just like us to use. So he's kind of evaluating that right now. And so that's
something I'm very interested in.
Yeah, we are too. Trust me. I got to find something other than little Yoda heads to build with them, but you know, if I find a really good if I find something really cool to build with them, I think we would have a little more to do there. But I think it would be fun. I think it would teach the kids a lot, and just kind of a neat activity.
For the return, because we probably just do like a workshop type thing. I don't know. It's just that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be more of a workshop than a long-term deal.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, good questions. Anything else?
That'll be it for me.
All right, cool. Cool, I really appreciate all the great questions. Look like we got a few more here. As a reminder, *6, a couple of people just jumped on the call. *6 if you want to ask a question. Hello? Well, okay. Hello?
Hi, this is Juliana again, Sugar Land, Texas.
Hi.
Hi, I have one more question for you. Looking at it from a little bit of a different perspective, obviously it sounds like everyone on this call is knowledgeable in the coding realm and understands the value and impact that it's going to have for the children of the future. As a parent, I think it's safe to say that there's going to be a certain percentage of parents that are not as familiar with coding and are going to be really just looking for educational opportunities for their children, right? So there's other, obviously, franchises out there like Kumon and Mathnasium, for example. What would you say as just a couple of points that would differentiate Code Ninja's learning experience or environment to parents that might not be as familiar and just really looking for an educational outlet for their children?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I think this is kind of a softball for me because if you think about it, hey mom, will you please bring me to Kumon to learn some more math? Said no kid ever. It's not something that they want to go do. We have an added benefit of this being exactly what kids want to do, and then we show them an environment that's safe, that's fun, that's engaging, that turns their screen time that they're already doing into productive time. And once they see their faces light up through the window, there's a reason we put windows on the classroom, right? The parents can see their kids going through the free session in the classroom, and their face lights up. That really sets it apart for them. They see that their kid actually wants to be here, that they want to engage, that they're socializing with their next door neighbor, in the chair next to them, that they're having fun and learning, we're really hitting the sweet spot there, and that's not something that the other guys do very well. And that's nothing against them. Let me be very clear. Mathnasium, Kumon, and Sylvan, I think they do a great job at what they do. But they are preparing in very specific, in Mathnasium specifically, they only teach math, and the others really focus on math and reading as their primary source, and they do well at that. They excel at that. But that's a parent's perspective that they need it. The kids don't want it. Another thing that we do well is that we have engagement over a long term. The long-term engagement aspect of this means that you don't have to rebuy your students. Just to use Kumon, for example, since you brought them up, Kumon has an hourly plan where every student comes in when they need it and is on an hourly package. Well, that means if that student leaves, your student base drops, and you have to buy another student, through marketing to get back to where you already were. We have an ongoing monthly base, so you can just see that remit every month growing, or every week. You get paid out weekly, by the way. Here, that's another differentiator, but you see it growing every single week because we don't have to rebuy our students, and that's a huge factor as far as the business model is concerned. Does that answer your questions?
It does, thank you. And I think it speaks to how the kids can influence parents in terms of education plus fun, right?
Yeah, this is edutainment is what I call it. When we sit the parent down, we have these blue benches in our center, and I'm talking to the mom, usually the mom, about what their kid is doing in the classroom and how this is going to benefit them, and their kid's lighting up and they're talking with everybody else. I flat out tell them, I say, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm kind of cheating here because he's going to walk out of here in just a minute with a smile ear to ear, and it's going to be really hard for you to say no, so let's go ahead and talk about all the things that are going on and make a decision before he gets out here. How about that? So because I don't want to put them on the spot in front of their kid, right? But that's a part of the sales process that you'll be trained on, and all of your staff will have a privy to. So it really is kind of like we're cheating because they love it and the parents know they need it. A recent statistic from code.org says 90% of parents, 90%, that's 9 out of 10. I can't get 9 out of 10 parents to agree on anything, but they agree on this, that their kids need to learn how to code to prepare them for the jobs of the future that don't even exist today. They know that they need it. So it's a powerful, powerful thing.
Great, thank you.
All right, we got about 4 questions in the hopper here. I got about 10 minutes left, so let's get to it.
Hi, this is Michael, Apex, North Carolina again. 2 questions. First question is on your site, it says there is 1 location open and 6 coming soon. No, more than that. But 1 location is currently open. Is it this correct information? That's the first question.
That's right. We've sold 16 locations to date. Only 1 is open so far. That's what I was telling Angelie earlier. I think Angelie, one of our Dallas guys, and I think our Katy location here are kind of in our race to get open next.
Perfect. And one more question is the belts. I love the belt system actually. Are they virtual or they physical belts that kids can wear in the classroom?
Yeah, it's really cool, man. So I have a history of RFID programming. That's kind of one of my specialties when I was a real programmer years ago. So I built in RFID chips into the belt, into the wristbands. They're all branded wristbands, and so they get a wristband when they start. It'll be a white belt, and as they progress, it changes color as they get to black. What's cool about it is it's free advertising for you. All the kids love wearing them. They bring them to school. Their friends see them. Oh, what's Code Ninjas? What's Code Ninjas? And then they're part of your marketing team, right? They go out there and advocate for you. I get to go play video games after school. What do you get to do? So it's kind of a really neat thing. What it also does is every time they come into the center, they scan that RFID badge, and then we can see the usage statistics, so it helps you better plan for your staff, so you're not overstaffed and spending money unnecessarily.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
It's Boz again. I was going to ask about the curriculum. So my understanding is there's only JavaScript right now. Do we have any plans to add any back-end programming later on? Or?
Sure, Paul. So JavaScript now is a back-end language with the invention of Node.js and a few other technologies. It's very prolific for a server-side language now. JavaScript is also, as you probably are more familiar with, available for all browsers, so you don't need to serve it necessarily to teach it, which is a handy tool in the classroom. Also, to answer your point more directly, I think, and I've heard it a couple of times on this call, so I want to get to it. We are very open to broadening the palette of languages, but our focus is not to teach a person a language, it's to teach the kids how to think. And so if we're focused on, whatever dogmatic, faddish language is out there today, we're not doing our kids a service, because I've been doing this for 25, 30 years, 20 as a professional developer, and I can tell you, languages come and go. But, the COBOL punch card developers back in the 60s and 70s, they'll tell you that the logic didn't change. It's just the means by which we get it in there. So we want to teach them how to think. We want to make world-class problem solvers. And if we do that, we'll be successful no matter what language we choose. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Sounds really good. So my last question for today, is there an end product to all this? Like once the kids finish their certain time that they enroll, will they have something to show their parents, or is this just a learning process?
You mean as they progress through each stage, will they have something to show off?
Yeah, like a program or a game or even a website.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so each belt has its own kind of capstone project that they have to complete. Early on, it's kind of paint by numbers, and it's just step by step, and we just show them how it works, and then we go through with them and make sure they understand why they put every line of code there. And that's just fundamentals, kind of getting the fundamentals into them. And we want them to have an easy win early on. They're probably kind of intimidated by this as much as you might think. So let's give them an easy win early, and then we have plenty of time over the 4-year span to get them learning some of the more complex things. But every single belt has a capstone project in order to advance to the next belt. I think what you're kind of asking is, at the end of this, what is the expectation? Well, to graduate the black belt program, and ultimately our entire program, they have to work either individually or as a team to get a game into one of the app stores. We have some criteria. I think it's 10 or 11 different points of criteria that they have to meet, but really it's their idea coming to fruition, working, and in an app store live. And so what we want to say is, I don't know if this is going to be like a scholarship, but maybe this helps pay for their books. But what else it does is, going into college, when you're putting your application in, how cool is it that you can say, when I was 14, I had an app in the App Store? That's a big deal for a lot of kids, and it's going to become more and more important as we move on. That's a great question. I appreciate it.
Hi, this is Kirk from Noonan, Georgia.
Hi, Kirk.
Hi. You mentioned about a weekly payout a little earlier, so it got me thinking, where can we find out more about profitability predictors? Is that something that's available online? Is it a discussion afterwards, or is that something you want to talk about or can talk about now? I realize you're mostly out of time.
No, I got a couple extra minutes here. So profitability predictors, that kind of gets into a gray area. So the federal government gives us a few stipulations. I can't talk about top-line revenue almost at all. I can tell you that our average fee that we charge a student is $200 at our center a month for the drop-in program. I can tell you that we charge $200 for a half-day boot camp and $300 for the full day. But what I can't tell you is how many students we have added after what's in the FDD. And so profitability is going to be really up to you to guesstimate your market and understand how many students you can put in there. On the expense side, however, I can tell you a lot of things. I can tell you that we overbuilt our center intentionally so that we would have enough room to test new programs. We have 3,200 square feet that costs us about $9,400 a month. You won't be anywhere close to that. I can tell you that we pay our staff, our coaches, about $10 an hour, as I said earlier. And we started out with 1 or 2, and then we moved up as we needed it, and now we have a bench of 7 or 8. I also can tell you that we put our manager, our director over there, on a salary, and we gave her benefits because we wanted to make sure she stuck around and she was really invested in what we were doing and saw the vision to grow the community. So there's a lot of things we can talk about as far on the expenses side, but on the revenue drivers, I can explain our program. I can explain what our costs and what our per unit prices are, but I can't give it as a top line. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand completely. Thank you.
Yeah, so what I was speaking to earlier, though, is every Monday is when you'll get your deposit. So after everything's kind of worked out, royalties and fees and everything, your revenue gets deposited weekly, which I can tell you from numerous franchisees in different companies, that doesn't happen. Typically in those models, you get paid out once a month if you're lucky. So we wanted to make sure your cash flow was right so you can pay your bills and keep everybody happy. But appreciate the question. All right, this is going to be our last question here next. Like I said earlier, I really appreciate everybody joining the call. Last question here, though.
Yes, hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hey, great. This is Tim Francis out in Tampa Bay, Florida.
Hey,
I was at hey, how's it going? I was at Discovery Day last week. I want to say that was a great time and just appreciate all the information that we got there. This is just, luckily for last one, probably pretty easy for you. This is a little bit lower granularity, operational type question. So I know when we were out at the center that, you have a company branded van there, and that's obviously for some shuttle kind of service for kids. Of course, that adds a little bit of a, it's not a small thing, it's a little bit of decent expense to carry that, plus the insurance liability and some of that stuff. But it kind of doesn't really jive with the drop-in kind of program. So I was wondering, because you really need to be picking up people in some kind of quantity to make value worth it. Are you seeing use of that? Has that been developed in some way, or what's your vision of how that will play in a vehicle to shuttle kid, or is it needed?
Yeah. So right now, for us, it's a mobile sign. Actually, we do a kind of a cool thing in our local community where if somebody takes a selfie of themselves with the van, because we park it all over Pearland, and they take a selfie with the van, they can get entered into a pool, and then we do a drawing for a free month and do different drawings for different things, just to kind of give it like a little social scavenger hunt. It's kind of cool. But more to your point is we did have the ambitions to set up, and we've set it up, and we just we decided not to use it in Pearland. And that's the after-school care where we go and pick up kids from school, and they stay with us until their parents can come pick them up. I did a little math on the board when you were here at Discovery Day, if you saw it. Early on, we didn't know the adoption of drop-in. We didn't know how many people were going to love it, how many, if it was going to get any momentum. But what we've seen now is that it's definitely going to work, right? I mean, this is a big deal. People love the program. People love the flexibility, and the price point is where it needs to be. So at this time, we're not planning on doing the after-school program, even though we built the van and bought it and we insure it and everything like that. But
okay, good.
Yeah, so the only program that is absolutely required is the drop-in program, and I think you would be remiss if you didn't do the summer camps because they make a ton of money. But the only one that's absolutely required is the drop-in program. So we're still going to offer the after-school care. I think in smaller markets where they're not as acceptable, they don't adapt to kind of newer ways of doing stuff. It might be that the after-school care can be that $10,000 to $15,000 in revenue on a consistent basis that you want to see, and it might be worth giving up some real estate, in order to accommodate that. But in our market, it seemed that the drop-in program was accepted very well. So.
Okay, thanks.
When are you thinking of getting open in Tampa?
Pretty soon. I'm certainly going to see when
I just need to know when
Florida
I need to get my ticket. I just need to know when I need to buy my ticket, because I want to come see you. I love Tampa. That's a great area.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be happening soon, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Very excited. Mm-hmm. See you.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Again, I really appreciate it. Now I'm going to bring in Marty. He's going to finish this up and tell you all about next steps.
Well, thanks, Dave, for taking some time today. We all really appreciate you carving out some of your data to connect with us all. If you have any other questions and you want to connect with somebody in the franchise development side of it, you can reach out to myself. My name is Marty. It's Marty at codeninjas.com. Or you can also call me at my direct line at 763-516-3578. We can connect more if you have more questions. You want to dig in a little bit deeper in terms of your BOE, base operating expense, our revenue models, and what it can look like, and what we have in our item 19 and inside of our FDD, or any more detailed questions you might have. We provide many learning channels for you based on what you want to know and how you want to vet us out. Whether it be like today's call, whether it be a one-on-one call, digging deeper with David or myself or Jeff Thames, coming to our center one-on-one if you're in the Houston area. The discovery days are probably going to be the best time to get together because you're with like-minded people and questions that they have you may not have, and then they ask a question, it triggers you to ask a question, and it's a good time to collaborate with a large amount of entrepreneurs that are thinking the same things that you are thinking or a little bit differently. And that energy is a great energy to be around, and you get to understand their experiences, and you get to look under the hood of Code Ninjas. So if you'd like to attend a Discovery Day, please reach out to myself or Jeff Thames, who's obviously also involved in franchise development with us. So we thank you again for your time today. Feel free to reach out anytime, and we can get you on that roadmap to understanding your market, what's available, where you at. I mean, we've had franchisees jump on board with us within a month. We've had franchisees work with us for 5-6 months. It's really, we're here to accommodate your timeline, your schedule, and we'll move as fast as you want to move. So please reach out anytime. Thank you again for today. We look forward to connecting with you all very soon.